Hey everybody, welcome back. James here again with you, and I'm going to tell you why I pretty much try to steer clear away from slugs versus pellet. Now I shoot every day and it gets awful pricey if I have to shoot a certain pellet or a certain slug or whatever it is. So with that said, obviously you get less shots per the price of slugs in comparison to pellets. Now I myself, I am not a felon, so I can legally own firearms and I can shoot 22 LR where I live at. And the main reasoning behind slugs is their downrange energy. But the problem is, my pellet tunes shoot just as good at the same gun settings. Now what you have to understand is, downrange, when you shoot a slug, pellet, bullet, whatever the case may be, you need to understand the trajectory of that and the ballistic coefficient of that load that you're using to truly understand what is happening on target. And as you've heard me say in the past, velocity only equals a certain amount of distance. Obviously you're not going to shoot a pellet at 500 feet a second and be really good and get really good accuracy or precision at 100 yards, because it's going to be on impact not very much. Now with that also stated, pellets, once they leave the barrel, they have a low ballistic coefficient and they increase their ballistic coefficient downrange. The opposite is of the slug. The slug, once it leaves the muzzle of your airgun barrel, it is at its highest BC. And after that, it just starts going downhill. Now, that doesn't mean that slugs don't retain their energy more. But I've always stated in comments and I've answered to people that my pellet tunes have a higher impact at the same gun settings. And it is true. I have it on video and I want to share that with you today, showing you of me shooting the H&N Slug 21 grain versus my 15.89 grain pellet tune. Now it's at the same settings of 2200 PSI, 4.5 turns in. And what I did was I zeroed the reticle to each slug and pellet at 50 yards to make sure it was dead on and held dead center on target at 100 yards. Let me show you those shots that I took. Check this out. There we go. It's on now. Not really worried about the windage. Now I'm going to take it out to 100 to capture the drop. Got the camera down there and I'm going to hold dead center. One more. Okay, they were arcing pretty good down there. Looks like they were almost hitting the bottom of the
958.
Okay, we're on. Hold crosshairs at 100.
951.
And this is not even tuned in. This is just the same settings as the slugs. When I got the slugs to shoot good without the barrel band screws in at 100 yards, shooting half MOA. But this is factory conditioned rifle, nothing done to it. Same settings, again, 4.5 turns with pellets this time, 15.8 9-grain.
Now you've seen there, guys, that the pellet had a higher impact, even though it had a higher muzzle velocity. It's kind of a brain teaser, literally. If a ballistic coefficient was that high with the slug, it shouldn't have dropped that much. Now, also, people are going to comment, well, you didn't shoot them that fast. There's no way you can get the most out of slugs if you're not shooting them over 900 feet a second. That's not true. You shoot at whatever the gun likes them to shoot at. It's not a velocity. Everybody uses the muzzle velocity as a reference. It's not the muzzle velocity you have to worry about. It's the impact velocity. And as you know, I shot these slugs out of my Air Venturi Avenger half MOA at 100 yards, and I just kept rolling with it. So again, at 800 feet a second with these slugs, they are super accurate and precise. Not even kidding here. Like just as good as my pellet tunes. I'm hitting playing cards back to back, and I'm also hitting aspirins off balloons at 100 yards. So this is at 800 feet a second at the muzzle, guys. That means that there is no real set muzzle velocity you have to shoot the slug at. It's whatever the gun likes to shoot them at.
One card down. Hit that one. See if I can knock it off. Knocked it off. Woo! 2 cards back to back. H&N, 21 grain, 218, 800 feet a second at the muzzle. Woo! 4.5 turns in on the hammer spring, 2200 PSI. 3 cameras. Woo! Nailed it. Aspirin, 100 yards. Slugs, 218 H&N, 21 grain. Awful windy today. Off a balloon at 100 yards, guys.
So I definitely have the gun dialed in, again at 2200 PSI, 4.5 turns in with the H&N slugs, obviously. So that just debunks that you have to shoot at 900 feet a second or more. Now, if I was shooting at 200-300 yards, probably, because again, you have to understand the ballistic coefficient of the slug has nothing to do with the energy retainment. As soon as it leaves the barrel, the ballistic coefficient changes and it goes worse. It doesn't get better. Whereas a pellet leaves the barrel, it's at its lowest ballistic coefficient and increases it in flight. That's why you get it coming out of the barrel and it kind of just levels out and it doesn't drop off. Where slugs, on the other hand, come out and stay steady for a minute and then they start to just drop off. And this is why I stated many times before to people who ask me about slugs and what I do and if I even shoot them, my pellet tunes are just as good, if not better. You know, again, the JSB 15.89 grain at 100 yards, the same gun settings, I'm having an 1.5 inch impact shift upward. So, and both were shooting at a 50-yard zero. So it just comes down to what the gun likes, obviously, and how well you got your gun tuned in, depending on your tuning method. A lot of you know mine, it's not about muzzle velocity. So I just wanted to share this with you because, again, slugs get pricey, guys, especially when you're shooting them all the time. And you only get 200 a tin, and right now they're running between $15 to $20 a tin for 200 of them. And you have to pay for shipping. So if that was the case, so if I'm spending that much money, I might as well just go ahead and shoot my 22 LR for about $5 a 50 round pack. Because buying slugs, you just can't go locally and buy them anywhere. You either have to order them online and pay shipping, and you're just going to get ate up by shipping charges on top of what the slugs cost, and you're not going to get that many shots in comparison to buying a 500 round tin of pellets, no matter the brand. So this, to me, just makes more logical sense. If I'm shooting just as good with pellets at 100 yards, you know, I'd rather save that extra money and have a lot more shots instead of only 200 shots for over the $20 mark. It just doesn't make logical sense. But again, both of them are shooting good. Both my pellets and my slugs in my gun are shooting amazing. Accuracy, precision, muzzle velocity, none of that's the issue. It comes down to the price. And also, if you really need that energy retainment downrange. Now that's not going to say that a slug or pellet wouldn't take down an animal or whatever at that range, because I know for a fact that my pellets are still above the 600 feet a second mark at 100 yards, especially at that velocity. And again, like I said, you have to understand pellets come out at their worst BC and increase their BC downrange. And it's worse with slugs. Slugs start out at their highest BC at the muzzle and lose it downrange. And all that is resistance to the air. So it makes more sense to shoot a projectile that actually increases a ballistic coefficient downrange instead of decreasing. So anyways, I thought I'd share this with you because I get asked all the time, you know, are you going to ever shoot slugs, or when do you, do you plan on it, and all this and that. And I thought I would just let the cat out of the bag and answer that for you, because I've been posting video clips with slugs on the All About Airgun page that I have and on the Air Venturi Association page. And again, with my new tuning method, I could tune into any projectile I want instead of just buying a bunch of random lots of different projectiles and only one of them shoots good. That's a lot of money and time wasted when I could just tune in for one of them with my own methods. So anyways, I appreciate you watching. And again, the slugs and the pellet accuracy and velocity and all that doesn't really matter. It matters what the gun is doing at that range you're shooting at. I appreciate you guys watching as always. Hope to see you on the next one.